Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Today we're going to be talking about a very serious, touchy little topic.
Going professional. Going professional. And things nobody tells you before you go professional. This is a highly requested video. I just wanted to make this so anybody who's asking and needs some help can always go back to this video and get some helpful tips. So let's get into it.
My baby, my Valentine, yeah. Can I you didn't keep my temperature the rise? If you leave me, I could die. I swear, you are like the oxygen I need to survive. I'll be honest, your love ain't it, totally me. I am so obsessed. I want to.
So the main thing about going pro is that you want to put yourself in a good position to get a good deal. There's still pros and cons to that. The first thing I did is, that's kind of like the obvious, I ran really fast. I ran 49.8, and then at that time I had the world lead for like someone that made me look pretty attractive to sponsors and stuff like that. And then I feel like it's also important to keep your coaches and other adults that you trust in your life engaged in like the entire process, because a lot of track athletes feel like whenever they get to that stage they don't need anybody and stuff like that. But pro world and collegiate track is two different things. I promise you, you need people who have experience and have some knowledge about what's going on. I got some people that I trust and I spoke to them about my plans of going pro. I also communicated that with my collegiate coach, that way he knew what was going on and didn't feel like I was backdooring him in any type of way. I wanted to focus on finishing my collegiate season strong because that's also really important. Leave in like a statement, you know, also show that you can be consistent and stuff like that. I completed that, and then that's whenever I started to talk to agents. I wasn't the only person talking to agents. My dad was also talking to agents for me just to get a feel of them. And it's really important to like make a list of questions on some of the stuff that are important to you that you could ask the agents, and they could give you their feedback, and then you can evaluate whether or not you like their feedback. That was kind of like my first step. Whenever I dove into that, then I would suggest that you speak to multiple agents to kind of like see which one you like the most. It's almost like whenever you're going to visits in college, sometimes you have a sense of, okay, this is where I belong and this is where I want to go. It's kind of like the same thing with agents. Sometimes you feel like this is the person I want to work with, and then you kind of go with that. Also asking them the questions that I mentioned earlier, that's also helpful. And then if their answer is aligned to what you're looking for, then you know that you're going down the right path. The second step was selecting agents. One thing you really have to be mindful about, a lot of agents, they won't tell you this. A lot of agents, they work with like specific shoe companies. So say for example you work with an agent that only works with Puma, then it's a high possibility that you're gonna get a Puma contract. Or another situation you could also think about is that if they only work with Puma and Puma does not want to sign you, then you might not get a contract because they don't really communicate with other sponsors. So that's something to bear in mind, and that's really important. Make sure you pay attention to stuff like that. Make sure you pay attention to all the athletes they have, what the athletes are saying about them. Make sure you ask questions like, what is your experience with that person? What are some stuff that you like about them? What are some dislikes? And then you just ask a bunch of questions. Questions are never too much. Like if you want to know, you just want to know. So that's really important. Another thing that is important whenever you're selecting an agent, whenever you actually establish that you want to work with the agent, then you can kind of give them a go ahead to see where the market is at. What you don't want to do is tell 5 different agents, okay, I give you permission to go talk to these shoe companies, see what type of money you get. Then the shoe companies are not going to feel like you're serious, because it's like, why are you sending 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different agents to figure out what the market is like? You don't even know who you want to work with. So that's bad. Please don't do that. Another thing is, before even deciding to go pro, you need to look at where you're ranked, and you have to be honest with yourself. So say for example, like me, you're a 400-meter athlete coming out. You have to look at, okay, in the entire country or in the entire world, where am I ranked, you know? And then if you're like, okay, I'm 6th, 5th or something like that. So basically I feel like they kind of like separate the different countries, not really different countries, but they kind of like separate Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the US, that we're like a whole separate entity from like Europe. They have their own thing going on over there. So you probably won't really have to compare yourself to people in Europe, but like compare yourself to people in Caribbean, people in like Canada, the US. How good do I look? And also I feel like the collegiate system is a great place where you can compare yourself, because the collegiate system produces some of the best athletes in the world. That's just facts. Like, yeah, you compare yourself in the collegiate system. So say for example you're top 5, right? And you're number 5, and then the other 4 girls, they're also grown pro, they're also seniors. Sometimes what you could have is the other ones are not going pro, so it's like three is like ahead of you. So these 3 girls are going pro and they're ahead of you. So then you have to look at, if these 3 girls are ahead of me, they're more likely to get a contract over me. And then also you have to look at like special characteristics about yourself and see like, oh, what makes me different? Am I more consistent than them? Did I win certain amount of titles over them? What makes me stand out? The companies, they're mostly gonna go for the person who stands out the most, and then probably say for example one sponsor takes this person, then you might have a better deal with like another sponsor, and that's kind of like how it is. Another thing that you also have to think about is sponsors, they're looking for specific types of athlete, and I did not know this. If you pay attention, you notice that ASICS, they sign a lot of male sprinters. So I guess that's their preferred type of athletes they rather to sign. So it's like me as a Jamaican 400-meter runner, my chances are like really slim to get picked up by ASICS. That's just like an example. And then you have other companies that they do not work with Caribbean athletes at all. So it's like already I have 2 companies, they're canceled, so I'm down to like 3 or 4. And then you have to like look at little stuff like that. And also in track and field, some events they get paid more than others, so it's really hard to compare yourself to like other athletes. Like sprinters off jump, they get the most money because that's what makes money in track and field. Like everybody wants to watch 100 meters, everybody wants to watch a 200 meters, and because that's where the money comes in the sports, they get paid the most. So a 400-meter athlete, unless you're just like a Wayne Van Niekerk or somebody crazy, then you could be like, oh yeah, I kind of like got similar money to them. So that's the other thing to think about. Don't go into track and field be like, oh, this person signed for this, but I run the 400 and they run the sprint, so I should be making just as much money. It don't work like that. So yeah, you have to understand, sports, it's a lot of politics and it's also a lot of business. Like I've seen like a lot of athletes who are amazing, like say for example jumpers, they're amazing, but it's just like the sport of track and field does not broadcast jumps as much as they'll broadcast sprint, and then because of that, jumps does not bring in as much revenue as sprinting does, and then because of that, the contracts, they don't kind of like look the same. Main thing, make sure you're communicating with people that you trust. I repeat, make sure you are involving people in the process of going pro that you trust. That's the main thing. Make sure your parents are involved, because if nobody has your best interest, I promise you your parents are gonna have your best interest. And make sure they do their research, that way they actually know what's going on, because they could have your best interest but they don't really know the business of what is going on. 2, you're never too old to learn. Learn as much as you can about the entire process and ask as much questions as you can, so you're comfortable and you have a full understanding of what's going on and what are some of the things that you need to be thinking about. 3, make sure that you are in good position to go pro. Don't go pro just because, oh, I want to go pro, or I want to go pro just to say I'm pro. I want to wear this type of uniform. 4, I lost count, but next thing is don't sign to a deal that, oh, I only want to wear a certain brand, that's why I'm signed to them. The older you get, the more you realize, and the more mature you are, the more you realize that just does not matter. What matters is who's paying you the most money and who's offering you the best contract. The other thing I forgot to touch on is you have to pay attention to the contracts and make sure the agent that you're signed with, they know a lot about contracts and some of the clauses to look at and the important stuff. Make sure your agent is kind of like experienced. Well, that's my preference. I prefer somebody who is more experienced and who has been in the track and field business for a long time, so they kind of like know the ins and out. But sometimes what I'm gonna say is sometimes more money does not mean it's the better contract. You could get more money somewhere else, but it's easier for them to snatch it away. Pick your poison. Like, this entire business is cutthroat, so it's like whatever you're more comfortable with. Like, if you feel like you want to take a huge amount of money, but if things go left, which that is always a possibility if we're being honest, if things go left, your money's gone. Or you want to take probably less, but if things go bad, still got your money. Be realistic with yourself. Make sure you look like you could actually get a contract before you're going pro. And also another thing to be cautious about is the money that you're getting, you have to really calculate it out to make sure that it fits your life. A certain amount of money sounds like a huge amount of money, but then whenever you look at living expenses, so say for example you pay a band a month for rent, so for 12 months, 12 bands, so that's 12 band already out of your money. Then you have to look at just regular living. If you have a car note, if you have you have a car, you have to get gas, you have to calculate like a budget per month. And then if your budget comes up to like 1,500, 2,000, that's kind of like your regular monthly spending, then you're over 12 grand already for the month, plus the 12 grand for just rent. So that's already 24 something thousand. And then you have to look at agent fees, which the standard that majority of them charge is like 15% of your contract money. Some of them charge more. I don't think anybody really charge less. It's normally 15%. So 50% of your money is already gone. That's another bag. Then sometimes you end up paying a coaching fee if they don't put a coaching stipend in your contract. That's another bag. Then whenever you're starting to go to these trap meets, that's another bag. Because your agents and your agency, they don't really cover everything. And sometimes the meets, they don't cover everything. You still need your own personal money to do stuff. Like if you're going overseas, you need to buy like an international plan. If you go to the airport, you need to pay for your bags. If you need to park your car at the airport, you need to pay for parking.
Everything's a bag. Everything costs money.
So what I'm saying is make sure everything makes sense. Make sure you analyze every single aspect of stuff before you decide to go pro. And then sometimes not everybody has the best start with going pro, but if you don't, still try to get the best of everything that you could get. Get the best agent that you know that's going to put you in position to be successful. And if you don't get like a huge contract, be smart about what you're doing. Be smart about where you go, the whole design of how your season's going to be and little stuff like that. And you can always build yourself up. Not starting at the top doesn't mean you're always going to be where you're at. We all start at the bottom. I started at the bottom. Not for pro, but like we all have to start somewhere. Still, even if you don't get the best contract ever or the most realistic contract. Make sure you take into consideration all the stuff that I said and see if you can apply it to what you're doing and try to get the best out of all of those stuff and just do your best. And I think things should work out and things should take a turn. I think this is the end of my video. I don't really have anything else to say that I could think of off the top of my head because I'm literally here freestyling. Just I like to help people, so yeah, I hope that helped. Before we end this video, this is the serious part. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and definitely come back for more stuff. I should be posting anything else that y'all request, or if y'all have any questions, just hit me in the comment box and I'll be ready to answer your question. Bye and have a blessed day.